Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com, and I'm back this evening to talk Chiefs versus Broncos. Your Kansas City Chiefs defeat the Denver Broncos on the road 28-24 to close out the regular season. And also I want to apologize that I'm not doing a live post-game show. I just have other stuff going on today. I just really couldn't fit it in. The whole them moving the game to Saturday really threw me off, and it just sucks. But yeah, no live show for the post game, but of course still wanted to get something for you guys, get my thoughts out there before I finish out my night. But yeah, the Chiefs are 12-5. They are now the 1 seed in the AFC. If the Titans lose tomorrow to the Houston Texans, I think we are all Houston Texans fans tomorrow. Let's hope that they win and we can get a 1 seed, because I really feel like this team could use a bye week before playing a playoff game. But before I get into that, let's just start with the game, because that game was a little ugly. It reminded me of the last year Atlanta Falcons game to close out the season, where the Chiefs just barely won and the Falcons were, vastly inferior, yet they played it pretty close, and it's like, what the heck is going on? Like, are we sure this team is okay? And then they went into the playoffs and they kicked everyone's ass until, injuries. But, this game kind of felt like that one, and I've just kind of come to accept the fact, this team, that a win is a win, and really, we shouldn't complain too much. Now, look, I'm still going to have some negative takeaways from this game and stuff that I'll talk about that worry me a little bit heading into the playoffs. But at the same time, like, when you win a game like that, you guys have to understand that no matter what happened before, as long as they come out with the win, that's a good thing, and they can figure out the rest later. For my fans that play video games and stuff, or team games, a real close example is Madden. Like, for those of you that play Madden, you don't really care what happens before, but when you win that game, if you come back, even though you were down 21 in the first half of your Madden game, you don't care just as long as you win. It just feels good to win. The weight is off your shoulders. You're jumping around, amped up, that you just beat your friend in the game. Like, you don't care. You just care that you won. These players and stuff in real life, it's the same way for them. Like, they know they didn't play all that well to begin with, and they're like, oh, shoot, we got to turn it on. And then they did, and they came out with the win, so you can't complain. And yeah, there were other games this year where the Chiefs would win and I would complain, but now the Chiefs have earned the benefit of the doubt because of the way they cleaned things up this season. It would be different if, the Chiefs were not a playoff team, then we'd have a legitimate axe to grind with them. I do also think, and sometimes I hate saying this, but I do think the Chiefs maybe underestimated the Broncos a little bit, didn't care. It was Drew Lock. This team has owned Drew Lock in the past. The Broncos just haven't really been a threat. It was the last game of the regular season. The Chiefs know they're making the playoffs. They know the Broncos aren't. So, yeah, maybe there wasn't really a great sense of urgency in this game, which is part of the reason we saw, a sloppy product. So I get it. A lot of us weren't happy with the flow of the game. The Chiefs looked a little bit off, a lot like they did at the beginning of the year, and there are reasons for that. So let's get into them. We'll look at the offense to begin with. So Patrick Mahomes today was 27 of 44 for 270 yards and 2 touchdowns. And, he did fine. You would have liked to have seen him throw some more completions. And, I tweeted this back last week, and I'm not going to refrain from saying it now. And even though I think the whole dropped interceptions thing and all this stuff, fans just waiting for Mahomes to fail and stuff, even though I think a lot of that is ridiculous, I will admit, after watching some film, Patrick Mahomes does make, a couple of those what the hell throws a little bit more than you would like for an elite QB. And I definitely think he had a handful of those what the hell throws in this game. And I really hope he cleans it up going into the postseason. Now, an excuse Mahomes could say is that, one, his best pass catcher, Tyreek Hill, did not play today. Well, he played sparingly. He injured his heel in pre-games, according to the broadcast, and he was on the sidelines a lot. Now, here's where I'm confused, though. If he was, seriously hurt and you have a playoff game coming up, Why was he still in and out of the game? Like, either don't play him or play him. Don't play the middle. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Despite Tyreek Hill not really being there today, though, Byron Pringle stepped up yet again for 5 receptions for 56 yards, and I said he should be expected to perform that wide receiver 2 role for the rest of the season, and that's a lot of what he did today. Now, people will point out that Mecole Hardman had 8 receptions for 103 yards, which Mecole Hardman had a fantastic game today. I thought it was probably his best game of the season. And also, it was his first 100-yard game, which is a little bit hard to believe, but yeah. Anyway, what I was going to say is that I thought Byron Pringle was the true wide receiver too, as far as like finding him open in the middle of the field and trusting him to get a first down and stuff like that. Whereas Mecole Hardman, they had a lot of drawn-up plays for him. Manufactured touches, a lot of what they've done for most of the year, and he just made the most of it today after the catch than he really has all season. And he had a really good game, but I still think Byron Pringle is your wide receiver too, and Mecole Hardman is going to be your gadget guy. And both of them played in their roles really effectively today. Now, another guy we got to talk about who I have finally given up on, and that's Josh Gordon. He had a target on the sideline today that would have been for a first down, hit him right in the chest, and as a contested catch receiver, you got to make that catch. And I thought a lot of the times Josh Gordon, they were being a little unfair to him, and a lot of his targets came in what seemed like really difficult scenarios. But that throw he had, thrown to him today, that had to have been caught, and he dropped it. And for a player that doesn't get the ball that much, you can't be dropping it when you finally get a target that cleanly as well. And I don't think we'll see a ton of Josh Gordon for the rest of the year or much at all in Kansas City after this, which is a shame because I was really hoping the signing would work out and I was really excited for it, but he just looks done. Also, offensive line, I don't have a single guy to point out and shout out today or single out anything like that. But I did not love the penalties from them today. A lot of holds, a lot of uncharacteristic penalties from guys like Joe Tooney and Creed Humphrey, who just don't get a lot of penalties. Let's hope they clean that up because we cannot have penalties hurting us as much as they did today on that front. Now, in the rushing department, Patrick Mahomes was actually your leading rusher today with 9 carries for 54 yards. But as far as running backs go, Derek Gore, 7 carries for 30 yards. And Jerick McKinnon with a surprise role in this game, 5 carries for 24 yards. And he also added another 3 receptions for 26 yards in the passing game. Darrell also got his too, but he did look to get a little banged up towards the end there. Let's hope he's okay. I think they said it was a toe injury. But after that, Jerick McKinnon was getting a bulk of these touches, and I was a huge fan of it. You guys know how I feel about Jerick McKinnon. I made a whole video at the beginning of the year talking about how this guy needs more snaps, especially on that one touchdown catch and run that he had, where he did the spin move to get out of it and found himself in the end zone. Like, guys, none of our other running backs are doing that. Jerick McKinnon is talented. He is athletic. He's a good player, and I always wanted to see them use him more, and they did that today, and I loved it, man. Jerick McKinnon, I said at the beginning of the year, man, like, this is the player that the Chiefs need when it's on third down or in the red zone when they got to punch it in, because he just does a lot of the little things well, and I really like Jerick McKinnon, and I hope maybe he's someone that emerges as we go into the postseason. And I know Clyde Edwards-Helaire is supposed to be back really soon, and I imagine that would make, I guess, Derek Gore kind of the odd man out. I just really hope it's not McKinnon, though, even though I've been riding that Gore hype train, too. I want to see McKinnon get involved. So, yeah, overall, the offense, not too much to complain about. You wish they were a little more efficient on third down. But 28 points will do it most of the time if your defense is playing well, which we'll talk about the defense in a second. They had 390 total yards of offense, but yeah, I'm not worried about them. They had an okay game. The defense is where things get a little bit tricky. But before that, I wanted to make a comment about special teams, and we don't talk about special teams a lot unless someone was really, really good or really, really bad. And someone who's just been bad is Zane Anderson. for the second week in a row, he did something completely boneheaded that allowed the other team to do something well. He had the roughing the kicker on the Broncos punt. I want to say it was in the first or second quarter. But that kept the Broncos drive alive, and Drew Lock would later rush for a touchdown in that drive and put 7 on the board for Denver, and that was all on Anderson. Last week he had the hold that took away the Byron Pringle touchdown, which may have won the Chiefs the game. And then also later in the game, there was a punt by Tommy Townsend that should have been down at the 1, and Zane Anderson punches it into the end zone and gives the Broncos a touchback. And for a player that doesn't see the field, a UDFA that's supposed to be making his way through special teams, he doesn't play special teams very well. And that dude's got to be cut. I'm sorry. He's just not ready. Maybe send him back down to the practice squad, but he should not be seeing the field on special teams. On to the defense, though. The Broncos had 364 total yards of offense, and 191 of them came on the ground. And Drew Lock really didn't have a prolific day passing, but he ran for 35 yards and 2 touchdowns, and you just let Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon kill you. Melvin Gordon had 9.2 yards per carry, 12 carries for 110 yards and a touchdown. And Javonte Williams, 12 for 46. He did his thing. I think the biggest problem in the run game today was guys pulling up, making business decisions. I'm not sure if that was because they were trying to coast into the postseason or what, but I thought the linebackers filled their gaps well today, and the safeties just whiffed. Tyrann Mathieu in particular noticed a few times. Effort not really there. What you doing, bud? I didn't love that, but that has a lot to do with it. I also wonder if the altitude played a factor. Seems like a lot of guys were in need of a breather. Matt Verderam, my guy at the Arrowhead Addict podcast with Fansided, where I write, he mentioned that the Chiefs had their backups on the defensive line in for like 8 straight snaps, like in the middle of the game. And to me, that sounds like maybe some guys needed a breather. So maybe that has a lot to do with it, because otherwise there's no reason you should have just been playing your backups on 8 straight snaps in a close game like that. I didn't love Spag's game plan today. Once again this week, I thought, he didn't really learn his lesson. He was making a lot of the same mistakes. We saw Dan Sorensen in coverage a few times, and that didn't work well, along with Charvarius Ward, man-to-man. Mike Hughes was also playing a lot. Why the heck is Mike Hughes still playing on the defense? We know that he gives you a lot more bad snaps than he does good. I was also a little bit disappointed in the pass rush today. They seemed to pick it up in the fourth quarter, but like Chris Jones, I know he had an incentive in this game. One more sack would have netted him another $1 million, and he didn't seem too interested in getting a sack today. That was really surprising. Again, I wonder if the altitude maybe played a factor there. But in the end, Melvin Ingram comes in, forces a fumble on Melvin Gordon, and then Nick Bolton, my guy, picks it up and takes it to the house, and that was the turning point in this game. You knew the Chiefs weren't losing after that. They go for the 2-point conversion. Mahomes runs it in. That was really fun, because actually on that drive, I was saying, you know what? It kind of feels like the Chiefs were going to lose this game. The Broncos were up, 21-17 or something like that. And they were, in Chiefs territory, and it's like, this kind of feels like where the Chiefs maybe, waited too long to do something and they lose the game. But then that happens and the whole script flips. And thank God for Melvin Ingram and Nick Bolton, 2 guys that have really been a part of the defensive turnaround this year. And you're going to need to see them step up if the Chiefs defense is to go far this postseason, because the way the defense played today was very lackluster, and like I said, I did not love a lot of the decisions today. They really struggled to cover the flats again, and we knew the Broncos were a team that likes to do stuff out there, and that's got to get cleaned up, or else this team won't go far in the postseason. Now, I don't think it'll be an issue. Like I said at the beginning, I feel like they took the Broncos lightly. They were kind of coasting into the postseason. But at the same time, that could just be an easy excuse, a way to explain away the struggles that we saw today. But that's going to have to be the case. Again, if the Chiefs want to make a deep postseason run, the defense from the beginning of the year cannot make a return, or else things just aren't going to go well. Also on the drive, right before the Chiefs got the ball back to ice the game, Vic Fangio went for a field goal on 3rd and 8, and it sounds like Fangio is going to be out of Denver after this, but that certainly did not help him. In a game with the Chiefs, you know how the Chiefs are. You probably knew you weren't going to get the ball back again. Why did you go for a field goal? You're not going to make the playoffs. You should have just went for a touchdown there and see what happened. But hey, it's not my decision. So yeah, that's all I got for this game. It was a ugly, hard-fought win. Again, it reminds me of the Falcons game from the end of last year. Yeah, I wouldn't put too much stock into it. I would think a lot of this stuff gets cleaned up going into the first postseason game. I also hope the Chiefs get a bye week still, though, since that's a possibility. We're all Texans fans. Go Texans. I really hope they win tomorrow. Derrick Henry will not be active for that game, so looks like there's going to be a chance. Yeah, I am so nervous for tomorrow, guys. But I really think that the NFL taking the bye week away from the 2 seed and making them play an extra game is not having quite the effect that they wanted it to have, and I think there will probably be conversations about that this offseason, or maybe they add another week and then add a bye. I'm not too sure, but it is what it is. The Chiefs don't need the 1 seed, but it sure would be nice to have a bye, especially seeing guys like Kelsey and Hill get banged up after this. A bye sounds really nice. We'll see, though. Either way, I think they'll be fine, but it just sucks to see guys get injured, and playing an extra playoff game always adds potential that someone else gets hurt, and that would just be terrible timing. So let's hope everything works out. Go Texans, go Chiefs. Those of you that are still watching, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Leave your thoughts down in the comments, and make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com. But I'll catch you guys later.